So I just woke up from a nap. I had to take a nap today. I woke up today. I woke up at 11:11 today, which was throwing me off for a loop too because of the dream I had. But it was just so overwhelming in a sense. I just had to go back to sleep, and I'm still processing, which I'm not going to share all the contents of my dream because Spirit told me not to, just to write it down, date it, and mark the time or whatever that I recorded the dream today. So I did that, which I did it in video form. I'm going to let that chill on CapCut in case I run out of storage again and so I don't accidentally delete it, because it was just too much to write out at this, like when I first woke up and trying to get all the details, as many as I could. So I just made a video and said I won't post it because I use names, specific locations and things like that. So I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna keep that to the side. But the part of the dream that I do want to share that stood out to me, so I'm going to tell you two parts. Okay, so one part in the dream, my mom, she was in a dream. She handed my sister a piece of paper. Because they was talking like amongst themselves, and that's as much as I'm going to say. And then my mom gave my sister like these stack of papers, and then on the top of the paper was a phone number, and the numbers were like enlarged, like this was one big number and then another big number, but it was like that across the whole paper, and it was like almost as if I was meant to see it and meant to look at it, because it was just like a magnifying glass just kept zooming in on that number. So I was like, okay, so when I tell myself something in my dream, I repeat it to myself so that when I wake up I'll remember what it was. I've always been like that, right? Boom. So the phone number, in which I wrote it down as soon as I woke up, it was like 1-800-953-8804. Hang on. I wrote this down. Yeah. Yeah. See? Boom. Right there. So the number was 1-800-953-8843. Okay. So 953-8843. So that stood out to me even in my dream, which I didn't question like what they was talking about or nothing. I was just like on like some observation type shit, you know what I'm saying? Boom. Just observing. So that was the first thing that stood out to me, so I wrote it down. And then the second part of my dream, which was the same dream, I was playing a video game, which was crazy to me because yesterday, I'm not gonna lie, I was a little menace on GTA. It's been a while since I played. I had so much fun playing the game yesterday. So in my dream, I'm playing the same game and I'm doing the mission. Excuse me. So I'm doing a mission in the dream, and then so I'm not gonna say any names. So this child, she called me, and she's about 6 or 7. 6, 7. But no, she's about 6 or 7. So she was in the basement, and I guess there were other little kids down there playing in the basement. There was a party going on the main floor, and then people was upstairs just chilling. I don't know, it was just like a big gathering, what have you. But everybody was just doing their own little thing. People was outside barbecuing. They was playing cards and, stuff in the kitchen. And the kids were supposed to be downstairs in the basement playing. And so in this dream, the child called me. She FaceTimed me. And like a video called me, I'm sorry. She video called me. She's like, hey, Jackie. She's like, could you come down in the basement with me? She's like, all the kids left me. And I'm down here by myself. So I was like, oh, okay. I was like, okay, I'll come down here. I said, is it okay if I finish my mission first? She was like, yeah. So I was like, okay. I'm like, I'm almost done and I'll come down there. But in the game, when you play GTA and you're doing the missions, you got like a yellow line and you just got to follow the way path and then complete the mission. I was almost like to where I'm done driving. So I was like, boom, finish the mission. And then I went downstairs. So when I went in the basement, when nobody down there, so I'm like looking for her and I'm calling there. And then when I went around the little corner to where she was sitting on the bed, but she was just sitting like this. And I'm looking at her, I said, honey, what's wrong? And and she didn't say nothing. And then I had looked over to the side and there was a guy standing right there. And then like as I'm talking to her, like instantly I got really angry. Like I was just angry because the smell that I smelled, you cannot unsmell it. And I don't know a better way to like to explain it. It's just like it smelled like somebody's been touched or fondled. That's the best way I can explain that. Or like pre-ejaculation fluids. Like I can't explain it, but that's what I smelled because in my waking life, that's how I knew, like, some of my friends was going through some of the same things I was going through. And it's not like something just like soap and water washing off can take away. It's like a scent. I can't really explain it. But if you know, you know. If you don't, just follow me anyways, right? But I could smell this smell and I got angry because it's only them two in the basement and I'm just thinking like you a grown man but you down here with a child. And then like I looked at her, I said, did he fucking touch you? And then she said, before she started saying something, and before I even can let her process it, because everything in me knew what this was, and I just went, blah, and I slapped the crap out of him. And he was like, what are you doing? But beforehand, like the setting that I walked around on, he was standing by a bed. He had on his white t-shirt, some black jeans, and he was sagging with some red boxers on. And like I can literally see his whole butt cheek. And he was pulling up his pants and he was like leaning on the bed, and she's sitting over here on a different bed. And that's why I'm just like looking at the setting like this. And then the smell that I smelled, it was just creeping all up in my head. And like I that's why I just hauled off and I slapped the shit out of him. I'm like, bah! And I'm like, you nasty. And I just started going in on him. Then I had to stop for a split second. I said, honey, I said, go upstairs with your mom and tell your mom like what just happened. And this, that, and the other. So she left. And I started tearing him up. I dragged him from one end of the basement to the next. And he was like, oh, I didn't do nothing. I didn't do nothing. I'm like, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like messing him up in his dream. And then finally I get him to the couch. And I'm just so mad. I got him by his neck like this. And I'm just squeezing like I could end you. And I'm like, she's a child. What is wrong with you? I'm like, she's a fucking kid. And I'm just going in. And then he's like, oh, well, he said something to me. He was like trying to mock me. He was mocking me. He was like, oh, what he say? He was like, oh, these hits don't even hurt anyways. He's like, you hit like a girl. And every time he would say that, I'll hit him harder, like, bah! And he was like, started laughing at this point. And then like in my waking life, I made a joke to myself because I have this like really, really skinny screwdriver. And I was like, if that dog tried to mess with me, because this dog gets out on a daily basis. But the last times that it's got loose, it don't even stop at me no more. It just run right past me, and I look at it because I'm on whatever you on, cuh. And so, but I'm like, just in case, I'm not gonna be, just oblivious and just whatever. So I'm like just joking to myself in my waking life, like if I go outside, make sure I got me a screwdriver or something and hit the dog right in his arteries, like right in the jugular vein. But that's just me. But in this dream, I actually did have this screwdriver, which was bizarre to me. So I put up the screwdriver off my side and I put it like right here. I was holding it like this. It was just like this, and I put it under his neck, and I was like, I will fucking end you before I let you loose to go ruin somebody else. Because like before I told the little girl to go upstairs, she told me that he was like laying on top of her and he pulled his stuff out and kept trying to get her to touch it. And she's like, she didn't want to touch it, so he was touching it, but just trying to show her like how to do it. And that just, oh my God, like you can understand my anger. I was on 10, right? I'm trying to calm down. I'm really still passionate. I just can't believe this. But anyways, as I had this to his throat like this underneath, and I told him like I was just what's stopping me, right? And then what really stopped me, because like when I started hitting, like when I first saw him, I only saw him from the side, and he had like a mini little afro too, like a curly afro. And when I saw him from the side, that's what I saw. And I started hitting him. I went trying to look at him. I'm just like bop, 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 bop. And then when I finally had the thing under his neck like this, that's when I saw his face. And he was like, see, you can't hurt me, something. But in a dream, he was like, that's what stopped me, because it was somebody that I did recognize. And then that's what made me even like I was mad, but it stunned me at the same time. And however it was, like, I lost my edge to like finish him off, and then he ended up taking a screwdriver from me. He overpowered me, and then he threw the screwdriver, and then he ran upstairs. And then I was just still sitting like right there on the basement floor, just like, this is somebody that I know, and they're messing with kids. And I'm just like, how long has this been going on? Is this the first kid you even attempted this with? And then like my mind's just going through all this stuff, and then I realized in my dream, like, oh my god, this sapsucker just got away and whatever. So I'm like, let me go before he go try to go intimidate the little girl to whatever. So I jumped up and I ran upstairs. I ain't see him nowhere, and then there was people sitting at the table. So I was like, hey, y'all just seen who just ran out the basement? And it was like, yeah. I'm like, who is it? I'm like, where did he go? They was like, his name's Daunt. That's Daunt. I said Daunt, because I'm like, what kind of name is that? I'm like, Daunt. In my head, in my dream, I'm thinking like Dante, but it was like, it's Daunt Brown. And I was like, Daunt Brown. And I'm like, okay. And I went like looking. He was gone. Nowhere. Gone. So I went upstairs, found the little girl, and she was fine. She was sitting there playing with her mom. And then I'm just like, asking her, like, are you sure you okay? And I'm just like, la 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 la. And then, oh my gosh. Whew. So I woke up with a phone number and then a name. So the first thing, when I looked up the phone number, the 1-800, the 953-4403, 8804. What was it? Yeah, I'm sorry. 1-800-953-8843. When I looked up that number, it took me to a place in California, which the place in California, it had a 209 area code, but the last 7 digits was still the same as my dream. The only difference was the area code. I had a 1-800 number, and then that was a local number. And so that explained a lot to me as well. Within that, then I tried looking up the name Daunt Brown, Dante Brown, and I'm just like, I don't know. But when I find you, sapsucker, it's on. It is up and it's on. Because what I took from that, and this is not the first time that like spirits or entities, however you want to look at it, when they're trying to like escape judgment, they come and try to get me to unalive them. They get me angry enough to where like, boom, I'm gonna fight back. And then they try to trick me to unalive them in their dream. And that's what stopped me in the dream because I could have just and jabbed him if I wanted to, but when I was processing everything. But when I woke up, I said, this is the second time something has tried to trick me to kill it in my dream. My first dream I had, it was and it was the same scenario, familiar spirits, because this was back when I was living in Kokomo in my apartment. I told the story before last year or year before, to where in this dream, these group of people came to my house. My phone wouldn't work for nothing to save my life in my dream. I kept trying to dial 911. And the numbers kept jumping around on my screen, on my phone, to where I couldn't press the numbers. Like I'm playing a game. And then these people are breaking in and they're doing, like, trying to get at me or whatever. And I could text in the dream for some reason. I couldn't use the numbers, but I can use the text. So I'm texting people I know, like, hey, could you call the police and tell them come to my house? Tell them somebody's trying to break in. And I just can't use my phone. Now you don't tell them, don't worry about knocking, just come in, like da da da. But everybody I text in that dream, they just kept asking me questions like, why are they there? And I'm like, can you send freaking help? And then they just kept asking me stupid questions instead of like, let me call first or do what you asked me to do and then like interrogate me. But no, they just going from, why are they there, like da 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 da, or just asking me stupid stuff. And I was just like, you know what, forget it. And I was just like, I'm by myself, I'm just gonna have to stand on my own. And that was like, and I keep getting put in these situations, even to the story where I just told recently when I was on live in my backyard with the neighbor's dog that came down and tried to attack me until it saw what was on that, and then that dog ran away. Because I'm like, if this is do or die, I'm not going out, or I'm not finna be walked up blemished up and bruises and bite marks because you can't control yourself. I was finna mess that dog up, and I had it in my right mind to just give it my arm and let it bite my arm, But before I let it bite my arm, I was going to smash that guitar over the dog's head, get that piece of metal that lines the guitar at the bottom, and then take out his career. Like, that was my mindset. So I might get, gotta do all this. I'll give you a distraction, bite my arm, and I'm gonna be at your neck like this. That was my thought process. And then once that dog really saw that I was on that, I'm not scared of you, I just didn't want to hurt you, but I will if I have to. That dog took off running. It couldn't intimidate me. And then that's so funny about the word daunt, because daunt does mean to intimidate. Like, once I went looking it up, so I'm just like, it's some type of intimidation that's trying to either escape judgment, but trying to use me to take it out. Because if you don't know, if you kill something or something dies within the spiritual realm or the dream realm, it's like an automatic reset. And it's like, say like if somebody or something wasn't supposed to pass through, like this was their last recycling time, if they get taken out in the spiritual or in the dream realm, they can be recycled again. So I'm like, that was like, and I feel like it was trying to trick me. So I was saying, like, with the first dream that I had back in 2021 with this, it was nobody I knew, and it was the same thing. I looked at the dude, it was one dude, and I just looked at him, and I was like, I knew him. But no, he kept trying to make it to where I knew him. I'm like, bro, I don't know you. Get out of my house. And when he left the back door cracked to where they could come back later. And that's how they got in, because I had my doors locked. But I invited him in, or he got in somehow. But that's when I started learning about, like familiar spirits and things like that. So that's what that was then. But in that dream, I had locked myself in my bathroom because I lived in a studio apartment. So the bathroom was the only place that had a door or whatever. And so I locked myself in the bathroom, and I took a knife with me, and I was like, do or die type thing. Boom. So when they eventually broke my bathroom door down, it was just like a movie or just some type of like cartoon or something. Like the knife that I had on my bookshelf, it turned. I looked at it, and it transformed into a gun. And it was like just sitting right there. And I'm just like, okay. So I picked up the gun, and I'm counting all these heads. I'm way outnumbered, right? And they coming at me. So I picked up the gun in my dream, and then I'm just thinking to myself, like, Tony Montana, right? I'm gonna take them out. But when they got close to me, whatever it was, I really, at my core, didn't want to hurt them or to unalive them, even though they was coming for me. So like at that time, I was still in Christianity. So I just like reached my head back, and I was just against the wall, just preparing to get attacked, because I'm like, I will fight, but I don't want the stain of murder to ever follow me anywhere. And I've always been like that. Growing up in my childhood, you see certain things, especially in Gary, Indiana, you just see certain stuff, right? You just do, and then and then you find out that certain stuff that you see or witness is not normal, that normal people do not see or experience these things, right? And when I finally went to counseling, to therapy, she told me I have PTSD from my childhood. And I'm just like, that can be a thing, like, because like I was like, whew. But anyway, so I'm like, in that time I'm in Christianity, so I just called out for Jesus as hard as I could, like, Jesus, and I'm calling out for Jesus in my dream, and this big black hand, it came down. It was only a hand. It came down, and it swooped me up. It came through my ceiling in my bathroom and swooped me up and picked me up out of that dream. And that was that. And I've always questioned like myself and that. So I was just like, after the dream, I'm like, why didn't I defend myself? And I was just like questioning myself, like, push come to shove, would I just stand there and be unalive? But not knowing that these was all tests within tests within tests. Had no idea. I was just doing what I felt was right. And my moral, like my core, I don't want blood on my hands. In this lifetime, any lifetime, right? And so the hand picked me up. So then boom, there's just so much. But anyway, so after I woke up and I'm processing, and I've like recorded my video, so I'm just still thinking, and I'm like, this is the second time that this thing has tried to trick me to unalive it. Like the last, and then like I had another dream too, to where I've had a best friend. She passed when we were like in the fifth grade, the fifth or the sixth grade, but we've moved a lot around a lot, and we lost contact. I lost contact with her, and then like finally I get to high school, and I see like some other friends that I went to Webster with, and I'm like, hey, do you remember such and such? Where is she? I'm like, what high school is she in? I'm like, oh my god, I'm like, after all these years, I never forgot about her. I'm like, that was my best, and I do mean the best friend I ever had. And I remember her so many years, but we just end up losing contact. We got a new number, and la 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 la. But anyways, my friend had told me, like, she passed. She passed right after our graduation in the fifth grade. I'm like, what? And like that threw me for a loop. So then, what was this? 2023 or 2024? I had this dream about this same friend, but she grew up. She was the same age as me, like not as a child. She was just a grown adult, and she was standing by water and she was crying, and I didn't recognize her at all. And I went to her like, hey, what's wrong? And then she told me like, I just really want to go home. And she's like, and then I'm just looking at her, and then like I didn't even realize that I was even in the tents, which would help me to start paying attention to my dreams. I always look at the background colors, I look at the setting, and I look at the cars or the vehicles in a dream, and it lets me know like which time frame I'm in, if that makes sense. And all she was just saying, like, she just wanted to go home. So I was just like, okay, like, go home. Like, do you need a ride? And the person who I came with in that dream, I don't know them from paint, from a can of paint in my real life, but in this dream we was like this, and he took me to like his little compound where he lived, and it was like a compound junkyard. It was like I can't really explain where he lived, but it was like so many houses and stuff and places. There was even stores. It was like everything they needed was on that compound, to where nobody really had to leave. Like everything you needed was right there on that land. And he had this like old beat up Scooby-Doo looking van, and he told them like, all right, it's time to go. And she like rolled her eyes, and she's like, I gotta go. And then I was like, well, I'll come with you, like, da 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 da, because she was crying. I wanted to make sure she was good. I don't want to walk away with nobody with tears in their eyes, and, this, that, and the other. They come to find out, the same person who told her to let's go, that was my friend in a dream, but still don't know who he is, right? And so we all get in this van, and then it was like so many other kids, different races, nationalities. They were just crying too, saying that they wanted to go home. So I'm just looking like, how all y'all want to go home? Like, how did y'all get here? And then the girl, she told me her name, and she was like, she's like, you probably don't remember me. She's like, but I grew up. She's like, but ever since that she passed, that she got pulled, or she's been there and not able to leave, and that the person who's my friend, she's like, you really don't know him. She said she was like, he hurts us. I can't even get it out, but she was like, he hurts us every night, and that's what we're on the way to go do now, and da 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 da. And I'm just looking at all these kids in the back seat, still not even processing. But in this dream, I had a cell phone, so I had gave them my phone. I said, here, call your parents. I gave them a cell phone before I knew they was already, all of them was unalive. Every single last person, like all the kids there, was just dead. And I didn't know, because they was walking around as if they were alive, doing stuff that people alive do. And that's why I didn't process it. And then I ended up giving them my cell phone, and I said, here, call your parents, And then once one person called, it's like a light came on inside of them. They like lit up. Because they was like, imagine like one of those cartoons where the person, they trying to illustrate that they're sad. They're like all gloomy. That's how all the kids there look. But I say kids, but they was all different ages, because at heart they was still a kid. But it's like the light was literally being sucked out of them from whatever dude was doing to them every night. And so, excuse me, I gave them my cell phone, like, here, call your mom. So the one kid did, it's like, oh, my mom remembers me. And so I'm like, thinking like, why wouldn't she remember you? But I'm like, not processing nothing until the friend I came with in a dream, he was getting mad at me, and he was like, no, 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 no. He was like angry, his eyes turned bloodshot red, and I'm looking like, what the fuck? And then he like, and it was like this really, really heavy set lady. She was driving the van, and she started driving sporadically, like trying to throw the kids off and put fear in them to where they wouldn't want to call their mom. But I was sitting, like, they were in the front, then it was like a little cage looking barrier that separated them to where he couldn't physically reach back and touch us until like whatever, they had to stop the van, but they couldn't because we was on the highway, and they couldn't pull over either for some other reason. But and I'm like, what the heck? And I'm like, dude, what's wrong with you? I said, are you a dang on demon? And I'm asking him this in my dream. I'm like, I do, like, whew. But he tried to manipulate me as well to try to bring me in as a partner against my own awareness to siphon these kids' energy. And I went on none of that. So in this dream, both of my brothers, one was a miscarriage baby, and that's how I found out that my mom had a miscarriage. Two of them or whatever, because I've met my siblings, if that makes sense. If it do, it do. But his name was Jack in my dream. And my Jack and Josh, my other brother, they opened the van door and they told me to come on. They wanted us to jump out of the van, and he was like, they came to help me to fight this entity, which I didn't know what was the entity. I befriended it, not knowing, because I was too trusting at this time. But they came to help me fight this entity. So I'm like, okay, cool. But they wanted us to jump out the van, and then I just took my hand like this and did some stuff with my hand like that, and I opened up this orangish looking portal. It was like a brownish orange portal, and I opened it up like that, and I told all the kids, like even my friend, I told them all to go through. And then I don't remember, no, I didn't go through. I told my brothers to go and to go be with them. I'll be back, because I'm like, these is just some kids, there got to be other kids here. And as much I'm not gonna lie and say that I wasn't scared. I was terrified, but my fear of what would happen to me outweighed the fact that I knew that there were other kids there and they were doing unspeakable things to them. So my fear got behind me. Like when Jesus was like, get behind, like Satan, get behind me. That's what I did to my fear. Said, I'm scared, but there's more at stake here. And now that I know that I can open up this portal at will, I'm about to open it up and release all these kids here that they're hurting. A lot of stuff just came back to me, and I just had to go back to sleep and process it all. And I think what even started this, I'm going to show you what I was working on before I even fell asleep last night. Hang on. Let me find the page. Because I was doodling. This is how I speak to my ancestors without prying eyes. This is just something me and my ancestors have understood how to communicate. So I was doing this. And then once I got down to like doing all of this, that's what I knew what all of this meant. And it wasn't my goodbye, somebody else's, right? And I'll just show you like some of the workings. Boom, boom, boom. So I was doing that. Did that. And then this is what stood out to me. Oh, not this one. So I did that. But this page is what stood out to me. This was the very last thing before I like knocked out. So this was about 4:40 this morning. So I started on this little doodle at 3:05. But when I be like in between, I'm in there. I don't know how much time went past. But I know when I got done doing this, it was 4:40. And I'm like, oh my goodness, the sun's finna come up. Let me go to sleep and la 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 la. But I'm like, this stood out to me as soon as I woke up, because besides this part, this is what the screwdriver looked like that I had in my side. And then like to me, I'm still processing this. because it's like a super weapon. But that's definitely what I was working on. And then I'm at this dream, like the part that happened in the basement, that lets me know like there's like an underlying either like family secret or just something like below the subconscious. Because if you think of a house, that's why my waist, like I didn't know what my obsession was to drawing like the first grade kindergarten, style houses with just the plain old square triangle and rectangle door, circle windows. I've been doing this for years, and I'm just like, Jackie, you're an adult now. It's time to like up your drawing, but it's like still something within that that I just kept doing. So I'm like, instead of me trying to fit in with everybody else, I'm gonna stay true to myself. And if I draw like a kindergartner, then I just draw like a kindergartner. Like I don't care what nobody say. But there's just so much, and I didn't mean for this video to be as long, but we're at like 30 minutes. I don't know, but I just wanted to share that. Whew. And that just lets me know that since this entity keeps trying to trick me to take it out in the spiritual realm, like why I'm unconscious, but I still have so much awareness, which I am so thankful for. That means I have to take it out in the 3D. So I was like, I don't know what Daunt Brown mean, but I'm on your head, you creep.